What an embarrassment. This is absolutely embarrassing. Not only is this embarrassing for the Lakers, who must be a glutton for embarrassment because the entire offseason has been humiliating in Los Angeles, this is also embarrassing for the NBA. Wasn't enough for Bronny James to be drafted in the second round. Wasn't enough for ESPN to celebrate Prince Bronny like he was the second coming of pretend king Bron. Wasn't enough for the Lakers to put their rookie head coach in the awkward position of coaching a legendary father and a son who is already a legend in his father's mind. Which is fine. That's fine. That's the way it should be. But it wasn't enough for the Lakers to put JJ Redick in the unenviable position to have to lie. Yesterday afternoon, JJ Redick lied straight to our face. Hell, the entire Lakers organization lied to our face. But none of that was enough. Rob Palinka, he decides to put the spicy mayonnaise on the woke wiener, and he gives a second-round draft pick a multi-year, fully guaranteed multi-million-dollar contract. Really? Really? What the hell is going on here? If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Before we get started, let me make one thing perfectly clear. I do not fault Bronny James for taking advantage of this nepotism. The Lakers, they're not going to call it that. NBA Commissioner Alice Silver, damn sure is not going to call it nepotism. Alice, he would never be like Judas and betray his Lord and risen King, Bron. Like I told you guys the other day, Bronny James seems like a great kid, well-spoken, well-mannered. You can tell that he was raised right. It's amazing how kids can turn out when they have a loving mother and a loving father in the home. Bronny James, though, he's catching a lot of shit, I think, unfairly for signing a guaranteed contract with the Lakers. But if anyone else was in the same position, we would all do the same thing. If someone offered you $8 million over the next 4 years to sit on the bench and watch real professional basketball players in Los Angeles fail to make the playoffs, would you turn it down? I wouldn't. Bronny, he's been going to games his entire life and watching his father play for free. Now, he can watch his father from the bench and become a multimillionaire at the same time. Sounds like a win-win to me. I don't blame Bronny James for taking advantage of his situation. I'm not even going to blame LeBron James for pressuring the Lakers to sign him. Again, put yourself in the same situation. If you're a father and you have the opportunity to work with your son and you have the opportunity to get your son life-changing money, millions of dollars, wouldn't you do the same thing that LeBron did? I'm not going to blame LeBron James for looking out for the best interest of his son. I might not think it's in Bronny's best interest. I might not agree with it. I think LeBron is setting Bronny up for huge embarrassing failure, but that doesn't mean I don't understand the reasoning. I'm not going to blame LeBron James. The blame for this embarrassing fiasco, it lies solely on the Los Angeles Lakers. What a disaster. This entire offseason has been an unmitigated disaster in Los Angeles. This used to be a franchise that never heard the word no. Players wanted to play in LA, coaches wanted to coach in Los Angeles. Now, they can't find anyone. You know why the Lakers settled on JJ Redick? No one else wanted to coach this flaming ass fire. James Borrego, he said, "No thanks, I would rather sit behind the weasel Willie Green in New Orleans." Dan Hurley, he said, "No thanks, I'd rather deal with Connecticut winters and continue coaching college kids." Hell, it took the Lakers 2 or 3 weeks to find assistant coaches for JJ Redick. It would be one thing, though, if the Lakers were being honest about Bronny James. It would be one thing if JJ Redick, who is normally brutally honest, it would be one thing if JJ Redick said, "This is what it is. LeBron wanted to play with his son and we found a way to make it happen." I think any father in this same situation would want the same thing. Instead, JJ Redick, Rob Palinka, they got on stage yesterday and they lied. As you guys know, if there is one thing I cannot stand, it's being lied to, especially when the truth is this obvious. For starters, I don't know why the Lakers held this press conference yesterday. Since when do teams hold a national press conference for a second-round draft pick? JJ Redick, he introduced Bronny James to the media, and he immediately offered clarification to a question that no one asked. There was absolutely no reason for JJ Redick to say this. No one asked for clarification here. Clarification wasn't needed because everyone knows exactly what this is. But for some reason, JJ Redick felt the need to serve the shit sandwich, and he expected us to eat it. Watch for yourself.
Rob and I did not give Bronny anything. Bronny has earned this, right? Bronny talks about his hard work. Bronny has earned this through hard work.
I am not discounting the fact that Bronny James is a hard worker. I'm sure Bronny James has been working his entire life to get to this point, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this was handed to him. What JJ Redick just said was complete bullshit. This is exactly what I was talking about the other day. The Lakers, they have put JJ Redick in a position where he feels like he has to lie. There's no reason to lie because no one believes it. Doesn't matter what the Lakers say at this point, it is not going to change the narrative that Bronny James was signed due to nepotism, which to my knowledge, this is unprecedented in professional sports, especially the NBA. Well, Casey, that's not true. What about Giannis's brother in Milwaukee? Wasn't he drafted by the Knicks 3 years after Giannis was already in the NBA? Wasn't he an all-star player in Greece? I can never pronounce his name, Thanasis or Thanisius, whatever the hell his name is. He was averaging 14 points a game in the G League. I don't know if Bronny James would see 14 minutes of action in the G League. When Thanisius or Thanasis was drafted by the Knicks in the second round, he signed a 2-year contract that was worth $1.4 million. You know how much of that $1.4 million was guaranteed? $75,000. That's how it usually works with most second round draft picks. If they get signed, and that's a big if, most second rounders, they don't receive fully guaranteed contracts. Giannis's brother, he was a proven player overseas. He had proven himself in the G League, and he still did not get a fully guaranteed contract. You know what Bronny James has proven? Absolutely nothing. The only second-round draft pick I could think of that received a fully guaranteed contract was my boy Herb Jones. But there's a huge difference between Herbert Keyshawn Jones and Bron James. Huge difference. Herb Jones, he was a proven player in college. If I remember correctly, I believe he was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year his senior season. He played 4 years at Alabama, showing growth and improvement each season. By the time he was a senior, Herb Jones, he was averaging over 11 points a game. I don't know if Bronny James scored 11 points in a single game all season last year. Hell, you might have to combine his totals just to reach 11 points. But according to Bronny James, there's a logical explanation for his struggles last year at USC. Now, of course, it wasn't his fault. I guess that is one thing that he learned from his father. It is never your fault when you're an embarrassing failure. Yesterday, Bronny James, he explained why he struggled at USC. Watch for yourself.
The time that I had off, I feel like I could have been perfecting my game more. Yeah, I just feel like I've been given the opportunity to, showcase what I can really do because I wasn't given that much of an opportunity at SC.
Interesting choice of words. I wasn't given much of an opportunity. First of all, opportunities aren't given, opportunities are earned. Second of all, why wasn't Bronny James given much of an opportunity at USC? Could it be that maybe, just maybe, head coach Andy Enfield didn't think Bronny was good enough? Maybe Andy Enfield didn't think Bronny James was ready? It's not like Andy Enfield is some bum. It's not like he's a losing coach. He's won 60% of his games. He took something called Florida Gulf Coast to the Sweet 16. 3 years in a row, he took USC to the tournament, peaking with the Elite Eight in 2021. The only time this decade that Andy Enfield and USC didn't qualify for March Madness? Last season when Bronny James was on the roster. Now, I'm not blaming Bronny James for that. Obviously, wasn't his fault because he barely played. USC, they were just a bad team last year with a roster full of players who would never qualify for the NBA. Bronny James couldn't touch the floor on that team. Bronny James could not get minutes on one of the worst teams in the country. USC was god-awful last year. They damn near finished in last place in one of the worst conferences in the country. And Bronny James, he couldn't get minutes. The Lakers gave $8 million to a player that will probably start the season in the G League. $8 million for a minor league basketball player. You know, I wonder how the dump divers in the WNBA feel about this. Bronny James' annual salary, it's higher than the salary cap for teams in the dump. Like I said, it would be one thing if the Lakers weren't clearly lying about this. I realize JJ Redick's not really in a position to tell the truth. I get it, but that doesn't mean you gotta lie. You don't have to go out of your way trying to convince us that Bronny James earned this contract because no one believes it. Give me your thoughts on this. Bronny James received almost $8 million in guaranteed money from the Lakers. Who do you blame for this? Do you blame LeBron James, or do you kind of understand LeBron wanting to play with his son and set him up financially? Do you blame Bronny James for taking advantage of the situation, or do you blame the Lakers? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.